Welcome, everyone. Today, we will be exploring an engaging and effective approach that combines discussion with audiovisual tools. We will utilize a PowerPoint presentation enhanced by video demonstration to illustrate key concepts clearly and vividly. This multimedia strategy not only caters to various learning styles, but also fosters active participation and deeper understanding. As we go through the material, to share your thoughts and questions, as discussion is a vital part of our learning experience. Let's embark on this interactive journey together and deepen our understanding of today's topic. Our today's topic is IV cannulation and blood extraction. This is very crucial skills for every nurses. As you begin your nursing career, mastering this technique is a vital patient care and safety. This lesson will cover the anatomy involved, the types of cannulas, and best practice to ensure successful procedures. We will also address common challenges and how to overcome them, all while emphasizing the importance of aseptic technique and the patient communication. By the end of our session, you will be more comfortable and prepared to perform these skills effectively. Let's get started. Background. Intravenous or IV cannulation is a technique in which a cannula is placed inside a vein to provide venous access. So venous access allows sampling of blood as well as the administration of fluids, medications, parenteral nutritions, chemotherapy agent, and blood products. Indications for IV cannulation includes the following: repeated blood sampling, IV administration, IV administration of fluid, administration of medication, IV administration of chemotherapeutic agents, IV nutritional support, IV administration of blood and blood products, IV administration of radiologic contrast agents for computed tomography or CT scans, magnetic resonance imaging, or nuclear imaging. So no absolute contraindication for IV cannula exists. Peripheral venous access is in an injured, infected, or burned extremities should be avoided if possible. So some vesicant and irritant solution, pH less than 5 or more than 9, or osmolality more than 600 can cause blistering and tissue necrosis if they leak into the tissue, including sclerosing solution, some chemotherapeutic agent, and vasopressors. So these solutions are more safely infused into the central vein. They should be given through a peripheral vein in emergency situation when a central venous access is not readily available. So the equipments we need IV cannulation includes the following: so non-sterile gloves, tourniquet, antiseptic solution like chlorhexidine 70% isopropyl alcohol, 10 ml syringe, 2x2 gauze, venous access device, vacuum collection tubes and adapter, saline and heparin lock, saline or heparin solution, transparent dressing, and paper tapes. So you can see it on all in the pictures. Next, we will play a video. The technique of intravenous IV cannulation is outlined on this, and then I will discuss it one by one after the video will be finished. So, as you can see on the video, insertion of intravenous catheter, place a venous tourniquet over the patient non-dominant arm. So, preferably, it should be placed on non-dominant hand and select an site for IV catheter insertion. So there, he did it on antecubital. So the veins of choice for catheterization include the cephalic or basilic veins, followed by dorsal venous network. So you can see on the image all of those veins. As we zoom it, there is cephalic vein, dorsal network, cephalic vein, and then there is accessory cephalic vein, and then there's dorsal venous arc, basilic vein. So note, start with the distal veins and work proximally. So start choosing from the lowest veins first, then work upward. So starting at the most proximal point can potentially lose several sites, so you could have below it. So apply an antiseptic solution, example, 2% chlorhexidine solution or 70% alcohol. As discussed before, we have to do it as a septic technique. With friction for 30 to 60 seconds, you can see on the image below. So allow to dry up to 1 minute, ensure disinfection of the site, and to prevent stinging as the needle pierces the skin. So you have to let it dry. Once the skin is clean, do not touch or repalpate it. So while the skin is allowed to dry, flush the saline or heparin lock with the appropriate solution. The syringe may be left attached to the tubing. So stabilize the vein using the non-dominant hand, most preferably the thumb, to apply the traction of the skin distal to of the chosen site of the insertion. This will prevent superficial veins from rolling away from the needle. So stabilization should be maintained throughout the procedure. So hold the venous access device on your dominant hand with the bevel facing up. So like this in the picture, this will ensure smoother catheterization because the sharpest part of the needle will penetrate the skin first. So release the needle from the catheter and place it, confirming that the catheter was not damaged or fragmented. This will ensure smooth advancement once the venous access device is in the vein. So as you can see from the previous video, the angle of the needle entry into the skin will vary according to the device used and the depth of the vein. We have different types of IV cannulas. So it depends on the stocks of the hospital. So see the image below, small superficial veins are best accessed by using a small catheter like gauge 22 or gauge 24, but placed at the 10 to 25 degrees angle. Deeper veins should be accessed with the larger catheter at 30 to 45 degrees angle. So upon entry into the vein, the practitioner must feel a giving way sensation. So the blood should be appears in the chamber of the venous access device, so-called flashbacks. So the angle of the venous access device should be reduced to prevent puncturing the posterior wall of the vein. It's like through and through. So it should be advanced gently and smoothly, an additional 2 to 3 mm into the vein as you meet the blood. So if no blood is observed in the flashback chamber, the device should be withdrawn to just beneath the skin. And another attempt of recatheterization the vein should take place. Flashback may stop if the device has punctured the posterior wall of the vein if the patient is extremely hypotensive. So if swelling develops, withdraw the catheter, release the tourniquet, and apply direct pressure for 5 minutes for the hematoma not to have. So if venous catheterization is unsuccessful, the needle should not be introduced into the catheter. This could result in catheter fragmentation and embolism. So after the venous access device is dropped to the skin, Maintain the skin traction with your non-dominant hand. Hold the needle grip of the venous access device in place between the dominant thumb and the middle finger. So while using your dominant index finger to slide the hub of the catheter over the needle into the vein, as you can see on the image, it was the catheter is slightly uh, retract or slightly moving outside as you meet the blood. So next. Use the non-dominant hand middle finger to apply the pressure over the catheter to prevent blood spill. Sometimes the stocks of the hospital has the blood will not spill because it's an auto click inside. So the hub will lock until you put pressure to the hub, and that's the time the blood can be extracted. So as this different catheter, you should put pressure over the catheter to prevent blood spill and hold the hub in place using your non-dominant index and thumb fingers. Then use your dominant hand to withdraw the needle, secure the needle if it's safety covered, a dedicated biohazard sharps, or both. So if blood sampling is needed, attach an adapter of a syringe to the hub and obtain the required samples, following the correct blood order. Order of draw and mixing time. It's like a rainbow tops. So blood collection tubes must be drawn in specific order to avoid cross-contamination of additives between the tubes. The recommended order of the plastic container tubes and mixing time is first, blood cultures, bottle or tube like blue or gray top for adults and pink for pediatrics, mixing 8 to 10 times. Second, coagulation tube, light blue top, if a routine coagulation assay is the only test ordered, then a single light blue tube may be drawn. So if there is a concern regarding the contamination by tissue or fluids or thrombelastins, then one may draw a non-additive first and then the light blue top mixing 3 to 4 times. Third, the additive tube like yellow top or SST, advanced mixing 5 to 6 times. Last, draw additive tubes in this order. So sodium heparin, the dark green top, mixing it 8 to 10 times. The EDTA or the lavender top, mixing it again for 8 to 10 times. And then oxalate fluoride, light gray top, mixing it to 8 to 10 times also. So order of draw. Note, all of the tubes with additive requires mixing. The mixing rate is 3 to 10 times. So erroneous test results may be obtained when the blood is not thoroughly mixed with the additive. So right now, we release the tourniquet while applying the pressure to the catheter to prevent blood spillage and while continuously establishing the hub and the wings to the skin as previously described. Disconnect the blood sampling adapter or the syringe, and then attach securely the pre-flexion lines of heparin lock to the hub of the venous access device. So secure the venous access device to the skin using the transparent dressing and tape. See the image. So we are using here a transparent dressing because so we can see if there is a swelling or if the IV fluid is functioning well. Next, using the saline or heparin flush syringe, we draw a small amount of blood to verify that the catheter is inside the vein. So immediately, the tubing will the remainder of the solution, slide the plastic tubing lock and continue to lock the tubing if such lock is available. Right here, you can see that we secure that the catheter is placed directly to the vein by aspirating small amount of blood and then repush it directly to the vein by using saline. So finish by securing the tubing to the skin using tape. Place label indicating the date, the time, and the other facility specific required information over the transparent dressing. So every hospital has different policies and procedures regarding this thing. But definitely speaking, you should put the date and time and your initial and what is the gauge that you used. So each hospital has unique policy and procedures, as I've said, for IV insertion and blood collection, varying in guidelines for sterile techniques, catheter selections, and sampling methods. These differences reflect institutional preferences, regulatory requirements, and staff training, impacting patient care and medical outcomes. So variation ensures tailored approaches to the healthcare delivery. So that's all. Thank you.